Really quick, if you haven't seen my most recent episode on Blood Money, find out why my thoughts are, well, that on that card. But don't leave just yet, because on this episode, I am here to deliver a warning to you about another card. So to find out what that warning is, well, let's jump into it. So, Dynaheir, and please, D&D fans in the comments below, let me know if I'm mispronouncing that name and how to pronounce it correctly. Invoker Adept is a 4/4 human wizard with haste. She costs 1 blue, red, white, and has, you may activate abilities of other creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. On top of that, tap when you next activate an ability this turn by spending 4 or more mana to activate it, copy that ability, may choose targets for the copy. So this is a very unique commander that basically allows you to, well, first up, activate your creature abilities right away, and then also, and more importantly, copy any ability that you have that costs 4 or more to activate. Now, 4 mana, or even more, is quite a bit to actually activate an ability, but yeah, when you are doing so on those permanents, you're probably getting some pretty big effects, and yeah, we are going to go through some really powerful ones here in a bit. So this commander has a lot of potential to do some pretty crazy things, but that being said, again, the title of this episode is Warning because, well, there are certain abilities that you and me might think meet that requirement, but, well, rules apply. Now, really quick before we jump into that interaction and the rest of the cards in this episode, all the cards I'm going to be mentioning in this episode that do work well with this commander are going to be in a link in the description below, because when a new and exciting and unique commander is spoiled, well, sometimes cards that work really well with it tend to go up in price sooner rather than later. So if you're looking to build around this commander, make sure you consider clicking on that link and getting some of those cards. And now that said, let's jump into it. So the warning comes with cards like Cascading Cataracts. It is a land that has indestructible and can tap for a colorless, and the important part is, pay 5 and tap, add 5 mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool. So again, at first glance, it meets that requirement, right? Activate an ability this turn by spending 4 more mana to activate it, copy that ability. Yeah, I mean, it costs, 5 mana, so you would assume, and I would assume, that this would work in combination with this commander. So yeah, the initial thought is, okay, I'm going to spend 5 mana to tap this and get 5 mana in whatever combination I want. Cool, but if I'm doing this with my commander, instead I am getting 10. So you're essentially spending 6 mana, because you're tapping this land to actually do that, to get 10 mana. So it's kind of like a form of ramp with this commander, but just on a land. And obviously mana fixing. And now, yes, there are more powerful things that you can do with this commander than just generate 4 extra mana, but still, I mean, that's just a nice additional option to have when you need it. That being said, this is a $6 card, and if you are building around this commander, do not buy this $6 card for it, because it does not work. Jess Dunks, the current rules manager at Wizards of the Coast, had this to say about the interaction. Due to how they work, mana abilities can't be copied by anything. Dynaheir's printing text is missing an exception for mana abilities in the trigger condition, so it is receiving an update in the Oracle card reference to prevent them from causing it to trigger. So yeah, that is definitely something that I missed when I first saw this commander, but it is definitely something to keep in mind. That being said though, now let's move on to some cards that actually do work with this commander. First up, yeah, there are other great lands that work with this commander with cards like Castle Ardenvale, Castle Vantress, and Archeraska, just to name a few. Castle Ardenvale is going to enter the battlefield tapped unless you control it planes, and it can tap for a colorless. By paying 2 white, you can tap to create a 1/1 white human creature token. So, yeah, I mean, this is just a great, essentially free effect on a land that, can come into play untapped a good amount of the time and can help us make 2 tokens, which isn't nothing. And again, if we don't have any other abilities in play, we might as well utilize our commander to take advantage of this to make more tokens, either to, just swing in and get some damage in if our opponents don't have any creatures, or, to utilize as chump blockers more likely. And then Castle Vantress is similar, obviously being one of the castles. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island. It can tap for a blue, and by paying 2 blue, we can tap to scry 2. So again, has the potential to enter the battlefield untapped, doesn't really take up a spot in our deck, and yeah, I mean, being able to scry 2 twice can be some fantastic card selection. But we can even generate card advantage on a land like Archeraska, which has Ascend, and it has tap for a colorless, pay 5 and tap, draw a card, activates ability only if you have the City's Blessing. Obviously, with this commander's ability, you can make this land a lot more efficient when it comes to draw when you need to. Instead of drawing one card for essentially 6 mana, because again you have to tap this land to actually get that effect, you are drawing 2 cards for 6, so that's like 1 for 3 mana each, essentially. But the first card that came to my mind when I saw this commander was definitely Chaos Wand, because I absolutely love this card, and yeah, any way to make this card better in a commander that can utilize it, sign me up for that. Chaos Wand is a 3-mana artifact that has pay 4, tap, target opponent exiles cards to the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way at the bottom of that library in a random order. So essentially you're spinning the wheel, and whatever you hit. You get to cast it for free. You might miss on something, you might hit, a counterspell which doesn't help you, or you might hit something absolutely massive, like an Imanatu's Augury or something, depending on the deck that you're playing against. And now with this commander, you could essentially spin the wheel twice with this just by activating your commander ahead of time. Speaking of spinning the wheel though, I am really excited about Wand of Wonder, and I really hope this card ends up being budget. It's an artifact for 3 in a red, and it says, pay 4, tap, roll a d20. Each opponent exiles cards to the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card, then shuffle the rest into their library. You may cast up to X instant and or sorcery spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. And with that d20, if you roll a 1 through 9, X is 1, 10 through 19, X is 2, and if you roll a 20, X is 3. So at the very least, again, like Chaos Wand, you are getting 2 spells out of this, but again, you've got more of a pool to choose from, since you're getting this from all of your opponents and you get to see all the options. Or at least I should say, again, you're getting 2 spells out of this if you are activating your commander ahead of time, and yeah, although very unlikely, you've got the potential, if you roll 2 d20s, to get 6 spells out of this. Now, obviously very unlikely, but yeah, you're gonna get in between, 2 to 6 spells, so you can get a ton of value out of this 4-mana activation. And speaking of value and activations, let's talk about cards like Triskai Decaphile, Verity Circle, and the Locust God. Triskai Decaphile says you have no maximum hand size at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game by paying 3 and a blue, draw a card. So this is a repeatable way to draw cards, and it's a win condition in itself, but yeah, 4 mana to draw 1 card is not all that great of a rate, but when you are activating your commander for this, yeah, that's basically 2 mana, draw 1. 4 mana, draw 2 is basically what it is, but you know what I mean, 2 mana per card, and that's not bad at all. Speaking of which, Verity Circle says, whenever a creature to opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. And by paying 4 and a blue, you tap target creature without flying. So with this commander, again, by activating it, this is essentially, hey, pay 5 mana, tap down 2 non-flyers, draw 2 cards. And of course, you can just get circumstantial card draw from this as well. If your opponents have any Mandorks in play or any other creatures with activated abilities that require a tap. Yeah, this can provide you a lot of value, especially with a commander like this that can really take advantage of it. Speaking of which, there's the Lotus God, which says whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste, and by paying 2 blue red, you draw a card and then discard a card. So now this commander, this is basically, hey, draw 2, discard 2, and also, make 2 1/1 flyers. And speaking of creature tokens and creatures, well, let's talk about Phyrexian Processor, Orochi Hatchery, and Captivating Crew. Phyrexian Processor has, when it enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life, and by paying 4 and tapping it, you get an XX black median creature token on the battlefield. X is the life page as Phyrexian Processor entered the battlefield. So yeah, depending on how much life you're willing to give for this, you can make some pretty massive creatures, and again, with this commander, you can double up on this effect, and you can make them twice as fast. And instead of going tall, you can go wide with a card like Orochi Hatchery. It costs XX, and it's going to enter the battlefield with X charge counters on it. By paying 5 and tapping it, you get a 1/1 green snake creature token for each charge counter on it. So again, this can double up the amount of tokens that you're going to be getting with this and help you go wider quicker. Or you can just utilize your opponent's creatures with Captivating Crew, pay 3 and a red, gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn, untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn, activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. So 4 for a repeatable threat and effect is not bad, but yeah, essentially just paying 4 to get 2 creatures, so 2 mana for each one, is a lot better. And yeah, this can help you really take over the board once you're set up properly. Because, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier, yeah, if you've got ways to untap your commander, you can utilize, obviously, these abilities more than once in a turn. We can also double up on removal with cards like Alexi Zephyrmage and Oblivion Stone. Alexi Zephyrmage has pay X and a blue, tap, discard 2 cards from your hand, return XR creatures to their owner's hands. Now, keep in mind a few things with this. Obviously, X has to at least equal 3 for you to get that requirement of it being 4 or more. And secondly, actually, the discarding of those 2 cards is part of the activation cost, so you don't have to discard any more cards to actually get that activation a second time with your commander. You're just getting to be able to bounce. We know, again, if X is 3 more creatures. Next up, Oblivion Stone goes about things in a different way. By paying 4 and tapping it, you put a fate counter on target permanent, and by paying 5 and tapping it, you sacrifice it, destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it, then remove all fate counters from all permanents. So with this, you can get fate counters on your permanents more quickly to turn this into a one-sided board wipe. Moving on, how about cards like Twinning Staff and Magistrate's Scepter? Twinning Staff says if you would copy a spell 1 or more times, instead copy it that many times plus initial time, you may choose new targets for the additional copy. And by paying 7 and tapping it, you copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, you may choose new targets for the copy. So 7 is a lot of mana to copy 1 spell, but again, you're essentially getting that spell copied twice, but now with your commander, well, again, yeah, 7 mana is definitely a lot more than 4, so yes, you can get that copy, trigger an additional time for even more absurd value off of just 1 spell cast. Moving on, how about Magistrate's Scepter? This one can be incredibly good with this commander. By paying 4 and tapping, you put a charge counter on it. So yeah, let's just copy that because by tapping this, you can remove 3 charge counters from it to take an extra turn after this one. So instead of just getting 1 counter on this at a time, you're getting 2 on it at a time, and yeah, you can really build up a ton of counters on this and get to your extra turns a lot quicker. Now these next cards I'm going to mention are getting decently expensive, but I'll mention them really quick. Ring of 3 Wishes, Planar Portal, and Planar Bridge are all great Tudor effects with this commander. The Ring of 3 Wishes enters the battlefield with 3 wish counters on it, and by paying 5 and tapping it, remove one of those wish counters from it to search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shelf your library. And again, because removing the wish counter is part of that activation, you don't have to remove a second one when you're activating your commander. You basically now get a tutor for 6 cards with this instead of just 3. Next up, Planar Portal has pay 6 tap, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shelf your library. So again, instead of searching for 1 card, you are searching for 2 each time. And perhaps an even bigger effect, though, comes with Planar Bridge. Pay 8 and tap, search your library for a permanent card, put it on the battlefield, then shelf your library. So yeah, instead of just basically, paying 8 for 1 thing, you're paying 8 for 2 things, which is a lot more impactful. And of course, some other expensive and pretty brutal effects come with Mindslaver, Urza Lord High Artificer, and Aggravated Assault. Mindslaver has pay 4 tap, sacrifice it, you control target player during that player's next turn. So yeah, now you get to control 2 players for the price of 1. And who doesn't love Mindslaver? Most people. Anyways, Urza Lord High Artificer says a lot of things, but its activation is pay 5, shelf your library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. So instead of just spinning the wheel once with this commander, which can already be very powerful, you were spinning the wheel twice. And speaking of powerful, I'm sure there are some broken things that you can do with this. I mean, if you just have enough mana dorks, essentially this can go infinite already, but yeah. Anyways, Aggravated Assault. By paying 3 red, you untap all creatures you control after this phase, additional combat phase, while additional main phase, place building anytime you can play sorcery. So yeah, with this commander, you can essentially get this activation twice to untap your creatures twice, which again untaps your commander. And yeah, again, if you've got some mana dorks, I'm sure there are ways to go infinite with this quite easily. Now, one last card that I'm going to mention, this is probably the golden pig of this deck, is Zerta the Dawnwaker. It says abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost 2 less than 1 mana. So yeah, I mean, all of your abilities might cost 4 or more to activate, but yeah, with this in play, it's like, nope, now they cost 2 less. So again, for those 4s, it's just going to cost you 2 mana, which is an absurd amount of savings on all of your things. And of course, keep in mind that this can be your companion if each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability, so if you're going to build around that, yeah, this can be a very powerful companion to have. Regardless, at the end of the day, I think this is a very exciting commander, one that is unique, and one, again, that can utilize, a card that I really like Chaos Wand, and of course, that new wand as well, which is going to be just a fantastically fun time to see what you randomly hit off the top of the library, but of course, there's some really powerful things that you can do with this commander as well. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, make sure you are keeping in mind that, again, you can't double up on those mana abilities like, Cascading Cataracts. So yes, there is going to be an Oracle text change to this, though the actual card will not say it. Or at least I should say, on the printed card, it will not say it. Anyways, if you are interested in building around this commander, make sure you click on that link in the description below to check out some of those cards that I mentioned in this episode. And of course, make sure you're staying tuned to this channel for even more quick takes and exciting spoilers. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well.
Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.